Here is your fully gathered, combined story, both parts merged into one continuous story, no headings, no breaks, no extra spaces, just a clean flowing story exactly as you requested. Buy one, get one free. Those were the words that froze the cowboy in his tracks. He had heard those words said about cattle, tools, and sacks of grain his whole life, but never about human beings. And certainly not about two trembling Apache women whose eyes silently begged for help. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to Moments of Love, and leave a like and comment if this story touches your heart. He hadn't planned on stopping in town that morning. All he needed were nails, a saddle strap, and maybe a fresh loaf of bread. But fate has a strange way of placing people right where they're needed most. As he tied his horse near the trading post, he noticed a small crowd forming. Men were murmuring, laughing, sizing up something like they were choosing livestock. Then he saw them. Two young Apache women stood barefoot on the dusty road, their wrists loosely tied with rope, their faces streaked with tears and dust. A trader, known for taking advantage of desperate situations, was shouting prices like he was selling old furniture. Buy one, get the other free, he yelled. They're good workers, quiet, and won't cause trouble. The cowboy felt a slow burn rise inside him. His name was Sam Carson, quiet, solitary, a man who kept to himself on a ranch miles away from anyone. People called him a loner. Some said he liked horses more than humans. Others said he had a heart carved from stone. But none of that was true. Sam had a heart, one that had learned to grow quiet after too many losses. His wife, his infant son, his parents, all gone. Some taken by illness, others by accidents or the merciless pull of time. His heart wasn't stone, it was scarred. And sometimes scars made a man look colder than he really was. But the sight of those women broke something open inside him. He stepped forward. How much? He asked, his voice low. The trader grinned. You want one or both? Special offer today. Sam clenched his jaw. Both. The crowd shifted, surprised. No one else wanted them. They were burdens, problems, too much trouble. But Sam didn't see problems. He saw fear. He saw exhaustion. He saw two human souls who had been ripped from everything they knew. He paid the trader without another word, untied the women's wrists gently, and motioned toward his horse. They flinched when he lifted a hand, and that alone stabbed at his chest. What had they endured before this moment? Come with me, he said softly. You're safe now. They didn't understand his words completely, but they understood safety when they saw it. And they saw it in his eyes. They rode back to his ranch in silence. The wind was cool, the world strangely still, as if holding its breath. One woman stared straight ahead, her face blank with shock. The other kept her eyes on the ground, as though she expected it to fall away at any moment. Sam knew they weren't just scared, they were lost. Everything familiar had been stripped away. When they arrived at the ranch, Sam helped them down and showed them to the small cabin beside the barn. It wasn't much, one bed, a stove, a table, but it was clean, warm, and safe. You can stay here, he said gently. As long as you need. They looked at him, unsure. Why was this man helping them? What did he want? Men who paid for things usually expected something in return. But Sam walked away without asking for anything. That was the first thing that confused them. The days that followed were quiet but heavy with uncertainty. Sam brought food each morning, eggs, bread, beans, and placed it on their table. At first, the women barely ate. They whispered to each other in their language, watching Sam with suspicion. But Sam never rushed them. Never pried. Never tried to own them the way others might have. He simply made sure they had what they needed and let them exist without fear. Slowly, trust began to bloom. One morning, Sam found the cabin swept, the dishes washed, and fresh water hauled from the well. He realized the women were helping around the ranch, quietly, without being asked. They wanted to contribute. They wanted to show gratitude in the only way they knew. Days turned into weeks. They began to learn a few English words. Sam learned a few Apache words in return. Meals became shared instead of delivered. Silence became something comfortable, not tense. He learned their names, Atsa and Nara. Sisters. Survivors of a raid that destroyed their village and scattered their people. One evening, as the sun sank behind the hills, painting the world in gold, Nara approached Sam with a hesitant step. She touched her chest and said, "Thank you." 2 simple words, but to Sam, they felt like a warm hand resting on his wounded heart. "You don't owe me thanks," he replied softly. "You deserved kindness long before you met me." Atsa, still quieter, handed him a small woven bracelet made from thin strips of cloth. It wasn't much, but it was everything. A gift of trust, a symbol of new beginning. As the months passed, the ranch began to feel alive in a way it hadn't in years. Sam found laughter returning to the walls, in small, gentle bursts. Atsa and Nara learned to care for the horses, plant vegetables, bake bread. They sang soft songs at night, melodies that drifted through the windows like healing winds. Sam felt something shift inside him. For the first time in years, the ranch wasn't lonely. The silence wasn't empty. His days had purpose beyond survival. But not everyone approved. One afternoon, riders approached the ranch, 3 men from town, the same ones who had mocked the trader's sale. They sneered at Sam and demanded he sell the women to them instead. They made ugly jokes, cruel suggestions, and treated the women like objects. Sam stepped between them, his voice cold and calm. "They're not for sale, and you're not welcome here." The men laughed, thinking he was bluffing, until he cocked his rifle. The sound echoed like thunder. Suddenly, the men weren't laughing anymore. They backed off, muttering insults, but they knew better than to push a man who had lost everything and finally found something to protect. When they were gone, Nara placed a hand on Sam's arm. Atsa stood close beside her. Their eyes held a mix of worry and something warmer, something like belonging. "You safe too?" Atsa whispered. The words nearly undid him. Months rolled into seasons, and life settled into a gentle rhythm. The sisters were no longer scared, no longer silent shadows. They were strong, capable, full of quiet joy. And Sam, he had changed too. His heart had opened again, learning to feel more than grief. Winter crept gently over the land, dusting the ranch with soft snow. For the first time in years, Sam didn't dread the cold. Atsa tended the horses each morning, humming soft melodies. Nara cooked meals that filled the house with warmth. They brought life to a place that had long been quiet. One night, Nara brought him stew and said, "You work too much." Atsa gifted him a blanket they had woven with their own hands. Sam couldn't speak. They weren't just guests anymore. They were family. But danger wasn't done with them. Riders came again, drunk, angry men from town who believed they had a claim over the sisters. Sam stood his ground. When one raised a gun, Sam fired a warning shot. "The next one won't be aimed at the sky," he warned. The men left, furious but frightened. Atsa and Nara rushed to him when it was over. "You saved us again," Nara whispered. "No," Sam said softly. "I protected my family." The seasons changed once more. The ranch flourished. The sisters taught Sam their traditions, their songs, their knowledge of the land. The three of them built a life from the broken pieces of their pasts. One evening, sitting atop the hill and watching the sun set, Nara said, "Before you, we had no hope." Atsa nodded. "You gave us life again." Sam felt emotion rise in his chest. "You gave me life again too." And it was true. Saving them had saved him. Kindness had rebuilt three wounded lives. A family had formed, not by blood, but by compassion. And the world, in its quiet way, had become a little gentler because one man chose to do the right thing when no one else would.